If you've been following my videos, you know in the last year I've developed a number of what I call rear-end fuel delivery overhaul kits for these old Mercedes, starting way back to the 1970 models that had electronic fuel injection. And those pumps are no longer available, so I had to completely re-engineer the system to go on those 1970 to 1975 models. Well, then I did the 380SL. Of course, I got my 380SL up on the lift, and sure enough, you know, we went underneath and we found rotten fuel hoses, even though it was a very nice car. Now, this is my 1986 420SEL. I named this car Bruno. This is an immaculate W126, just a little over 90,000 miles. I purchased it from the original owner, garage kept, absolutely gorgeous underneath. You talk about rust-free. I mean, look at the original paint under here. And just recently, I'm getting a lot of requests to do a rear-end fuel delivery system overhaul kit for the 560SL. That's the R107 convertibles. And the systems are the same on the V8 sedans as they are on the 560SL, starting in 1986 up through 1991. So I got old Bruno up on the lift thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to overhaul this system because it's not going to need it. And I need to come up with some instructions. Here you see all the parts. Look at that, 2 fuel pumps starting in 1986. Fuel filter, we've got a number of different hoses, fuel accumulator. And what I was planning to do this week was to do an on-demand instructional video taking you through the process of getting the system out, taking it all apart, replacing all these hoses, all these parts, and putting it back together. And I really didn't want to do it on Bruno here because I didn't think it needed it, but guess what? Let's go underneath and let me show you what I found today when I got it up on the lift. I have to admit I was a little surprised when I saw this. You see this brownish color? That's usually indicative of a fuel leak, and this is dried up fuel and varnish from that fuel over time. I got looking at this hose right here, and look at this cut right in there where the clamp apparently has been tightened. So I think at some point, some mechanic decided, oh, we got some seepage coming out of this hose, let's crank that down tight, and now it's cutting into the hose. So this is a danger point here. And I can't stress enough, you do not want fuel leaks back here. This is a fire hazard. So this hose has to be replaced. And then I'm digging around in here and I'm seeing some chafing on this hose here. And you can see there's one fuel pump, there's the other fuel pump. Here's the fuel filter, and you see you've got quite a few more hoses. I'm going to go ahead and pull this shroud off and at least let you get a closer look at all these hoses so you can see what I'm going to be dealing with. Okay, and now I think you can get a better view of this system. You know, it is shock mounted with 4 rubber shock mounts. And here you can see the 2 pumps and how they're interconnected with this metal line and hose here. And then you're looking at the outlet hose coming from the tank here in this short section of hose that I showed you earlier. And then back in here, this is the fuel accumulator. Now it seems to be there's a lot of mystery about this accumulator. I'm going to do a separate video talking about the function of the accumulator and how to test it. But on a lot of these cars, when you consider this is 35 to 40 years old, you might want to just consider replacing it. It might appear expensive when you think about all the work to pull all this off and change everything. The economy speaks well here to just replace the accumulator if you have any suspicions at all. So I've got wiring to 2 plugs here. And the bracket is held on with 4 10mm bolts. By the way, that plastic shroud was really easy to get off. Just has 3 sheet metal screws, 10mm head that you can drop down. But getting to these 4 up here that hold a bracket to the subframe, I found the best thing is to get in here and use a ratcheting box wrench, particularly these 2 forward ones. And then what I'm going to do on this system is I'm not going to drain the fuel tank. I'm going to show you how this is done in the repair video. I'll be using a clamping tool and a plug to plug this fuel hose off so it won't leak during the overhaul operation. Some of these fuel hoses can be expensive. I will be showing in the video how you can repair them without having to buy the metal part. You can just replace the rubber part of these hoses. So I hope that gives you a general overview of what you'll be dealing with should you tackle this job on your own Mercedes. So with all these parts here on the bench, I think you can see I have my work cut out for me this next week. You know, in 1986, the systems got a little more complicated. I think the engineers were trying to get it to work better. You know, more consistent pressure to the CIS fuel injection, quieter fuel pumps, more reliability. And all these things over the 20 years that this system evolved, you know, it pretty much got to this point where it's getting quite complicated with 2 fuel pumps. So I'm going to get the system off today and get up on the bench and go through the whole process of replacing all these parts. I don't know when the kit will be available. If you 560 SEC, 560 SEL, you know, and 560 SL owners have been waiting for some sort of a complete kit, I would highly encourage you to replace everything, okay? You can't believe how many problems are related to weak fuel pressure. And some people think, well, my fuel pumps are running. Well, that's fine. You know, I shouldn't have to worry about the fuel pumps. Well, that's not necessarily so. You know, you can do some fuel pressure testing to really determine the health of this system back here. But because of the age, and if your car is one you want to keep and you want it to be reliable, I believe that the very first thing now, because these cars are so old, is you should go back and completely rebuild the fuel delivery system. Then your CIS drivability performance problems will all be up front. You won't have to worry about what's going on back here. So I hope to come back in about a week. I'll show you the finished product here on this 420 SEL, and then I'll let you know when this kit will be available on my website.